Episode 43, Who Are You? Karen didn't expect Zara to find the restaurant where she and Alex were eating. She had secretly changed the location, hoping that would trick her cousin into leaving them alone. She focused her attention completely on Alex, who was sitting across the table from her. She had hoped to make the most of this opportunity, but he seemed quiet and withdrawn. Alex couldn't stop thinking about what had happened the day before, and couldn't forget the look on Debbie's face when she had left. His heart felt like it was being stabbed with a knife. "Alex, you've obviously got something on your mind. What's wrong?" Karen asked. "You can tell me. It might make you feel better." He slowly raised his eyes, and when he saw Karen's gentle smile, he felt a little better. "If you had a misunderstanding with the person you love the most and they turned against you or refused to forgive you, what would you do?" he asked. His heart felt heavy, and he was afraid that Debbie would never speak to him again. Karen was surprised by his words, and she felt uneasy. No matter who this unknown woman was, she definitely couldn't be allowed to steal Alex away. Alex had had his heart broken, she thought. The person he loves the most should trust him completely, and then there would be no misunderstanding. Karen was used to dealing with people, and she knew she couldn't be too direct. But if she pointed him in the right direction, she was sure he would figure it out. "Alex, do you love her?" Karen asked, watching him carefully. He nodded, causing Karen's heart to sink. She forced a small smile. "If you're honest with her, and she still doesn't trust you, then perhaps she doesn't take your relationship as seriously as you do. Maybe you should walk away," Karen said as she thought about how to handle this problem. Could she be right? Alex wondered. He didn't know what to think. It was all so complicated. Karen felt relieved when she saw that he was considering her advice. Now that she knew she had a potential love rival, she had to move quickly. If she was too slow, then she would miss her chance. "Cheer up, Alex," she said. "There are plenty of fish in the sea." She edged closer to him and slowly slid her hand across the table. Although she knew she was being far too forward, the situation was urgent, and she had to take the risk. Besides, from what she knew of Alex, he wouldn't be angry. She was so close to Alex's hand. Just a few inches more and she would be touching him. She moved her hand to within half an inch, then closer. Just as she was about to make contact, a loud voice came from beside her. "Karen, what are you doing here? And who is this?" James demanded. He had been so focused on Alex that she hadn't even seen him arrive. "James!" Karen gaped at him in surprise. This was a problem. Zara, her annoying cousin, had managed to track her down. "Karen, what's going on? I want an explanation now." James stared at her. This was the exact situation she had once wanted. With anyone else, it would have worked brilliantly. She would have shed a few tears, and James would have blamed himself and then confessed his love for her. But everything had changed. She was sitting here with Alex, who had a Supreme card proving he had over $30 million. Compared to Alex, James was nothing. Karen didn't even bother to answer any questions. She pointed outside as she glared at him. "Go away. This has nothing to do with you." Alex was confused. He frowned at James and asked, "Who are you?" To James, this was a blatant provocation. "Kid, you have some nerve asking who I am," he said angrily. "I'm Karen's boyfriend. So if you know what's good for you, get lost." "That's nonsense. When did I agree to that?" Karen shouted. Now that she wanted Alex, James was getting in the way. James and Karen had met on a blind date set up by their families. Although their relationship was intimate, neither of them had defined what they were to each other. James was at his wit's end trying to understand her. "If we're not a couple, then why do you think I brought you expensive gifts?" he demanded. "Why do we call each other every night before we go to sleep?" "James, don't be stupid," Karen said with a sneer. "I'm not responsible for what you believe. As far as I'm concerned, we're just friends." "I get it," James scowled. "It's because of this kid, isn't it?" He glared at Alex. "You dare to steal my girlfriend? You must have a death wish." With that, James raised his hand toward Alex, ready to teach him a lesson. But before it could land a single blow, Karen slapped him hard, stunning him. Karen hadn't hesitated to hit James. If he beat up Alex, it would ruin everything. And maybe Alex would be grateful to her for intervening, and then she would be even closer to winning his affection. "I think I should go." Alex was embarrassed by the scene. He stood up and walked outside. Karen glanced at James before running after Alex. "Alex, I'm sorry about that," Karen called to him as they left the restaurant. "It's fine. It's not your fault," he smiled. "That's the person I told you about earlier," she explained. "The one who's been chasing me. He's made several scenes like that. I keep saying no, but he just doesn't listen, and sometimes he even attacks me." Karen lowered her head, covered her face, and began to cry softly. "Please, don't cry. I don't think he'll bother you anymore." She seemed so helpless and sad that Alex couldn't help but comfort her. Karen took this opportunity to move closer to him, and then she gently leaned into his chest. When he didn't immediately push her away, she felt a moment of triumph. She pressed herself fully against him and nuzzled at his neck. One moment, Alex was worried about Karen, and the next, he was completely focused on her body. She was quite alluring. Her face was pressed into his neck. Her skin was smooth and her hair trickled him every time she moved. A faint fragrance drifted up, but it wasn't perfume, merely her natural scent. Alex's heart softened, while another part of him became hard. His hands trembled with nerves as he started to hug her back. But then he pictured Debbie, and his entire body shook as if someone had poured a bucket of cold water over him. Guilt swamped him. He hadn't resolved the misunderstanding with Debbie yet, so what was he doing dreaming about another woman? "I'm an idiot," he thought. "I'm the one responsible for the situation with Debbie. If I lose her because of this, I'll have no one to blame but myself." He cursed himself and pushed Karen away. "Karen, I'm sorry. There's something I have to do. I have to go," he said. And then he left without looking back. "Alex? Alex!" Karen called after him, but he didn't stop. She could only stamp her foot in frustration as he fled from her. A moment later, Zara ran over and pulled her away. "Karen, you nearly lost me," Zara said, smiling. "You weren't where you were supposed to be, but luckily I was smart enough to find you, even though I had to check more than 10 different restaurants." "I suppose I should thank you," Karen managed to squeeze out through gritted teeth. Looking at Zara's smiling expression, she fought the urge to hit her cousin. "No need to thank me, I was happy to help." Zara didn't notice the hatred in her cousin's eyes. "Oh, Karen, your acting was so realistic. If I hadn't known better, I'd have thought you were fighting with James because you wanted Alex." She grinned. "Did you see his reaction? When you left, James was completely stunned. I think you've really provoked him this time. He'll definitely propose to you soon." "I hit James and he still wants to propose to me?" Karen thought. "It's such a joke. He's nothing compared to Alex, so how could I possibly fall for him?" "I've been feeling really bad about what you've had to go through," Zara said. "It must have been awful having to look at Alex's face all the time. Well, the plan worked, and in a few days you'll get what you wanted. When that happens, we'll get rid of Alex and have some fun with him." Malice shone from her eyes. Karen felt sick. If she hadn't been worried about moving too fast, she would have kissed Alex. Zara wants to humiliate Alex, she thought. But just wait until I marry him, and then she'll find out his identity. We'll see if she's still smiling then.